Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into something super important.
Yeah.
Health, safety, and environment, or HSE for short.
HSE. You got it.
We've got this pretty awesome checklist actually. It's broken down by what you got to do every day, every week, every month, and even every year to make sure you've got a top-notch safety program.
A roadmap, you could call it.
Yeah, a roadmap. That's a much better way to put it.
Right.
And we're not just going to skim the surface, okay?
Watch out.
We're going to really dig into why each of these items is so important, what makes them work, and most importantly, how you can actually use this stuff.
Exactly. Even if if you're not a safety professional.
Right, exactly. Because at the end of the day, safety is everyone's responsibility.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So let's jump right in, shall we? Let's start with those daily things, the daily grind.
Yeah, the nuts and bolts.
And, one thing that really jumps out at me, it might seem a little basic, but it's housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Oh, yeah, that's huge.
It might sound super simple, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, a messy workspace, that's an accident waiting to happen.
It is. It's amazing how many incidents, stem from trips and slips and falls, all because of clutter.
Yeah, you trip over something, you bang your head, you spill something. It's a chain reaction.
Exactly. A well-organized workspace, that's step one, to building that foundation of safety.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond just being tidy. It's those daily equipment checks, making sure everything's in good working order. It's, those pre-shift briefings, keeping everyone on the same page.
Keeping everyone informed.
Yeah, informed, exactly. It's those little things. They might seem small, but when you do them consistently every single day, that's what builds a safety culture.
It's like you're building a habit, right? You're training your brain to think about safety all the time.
Exactly. Muscle memory for safety.
Yeah, I love it. But okay, let's be real. Things don't always go perfectly, right? Even in the safest environments, sometimes stuff happens.
Of course, yeah.
And this checklist, it talks a lot about incident reporting.
Incident reporting, that's crucial.
But that's not just about reporting the big accidents, right?
Right.
It's also about those near misses, those almost accidents.
Oh, absolutely. The near misses, those are gold. They're like little warning signs.
Warning signs. How so?
Well, they tell you where the weaknesses are in your system, before something really bad happens.
That's interesting.
Like, I remember this case in the chemical industry. There was a near miss with a leaking valve. Seemed like a small thing at the time, but they took it seriously, did a full investigation.
Good for them.
Yeah, and they discovered that particular type of valve, it had a design flaw. So they ended up replacing all those valves throughout the entire plant, and that one near miss, it probably prevented a major disaster down the line.
Wow, that's a really powerful example of how something that seems small can actually reveal a much bigger problem. So it's about being proactive, not just reactive.
Proactive, exactly. You got to learn from those close calls.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's move on to the weekly stuff now.
Weekly tasks, what we got?
The things that really jump out here are risk assessments and safety training.
Two of the most important elements, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What, in your opinion, makes for a truly effective, like a really good weekly risk assessment?
Well, it's got to be dynamic, right?
Dynamic. What do you mean?
I mean, your workplace is not a static thing. It's constantly changing.
True.
New projects, new equipment, even something as simple as the weather changing, that can all introduce new hazards.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So your risk assessment can't just be a one-time thing. It has to be an ongoing process.
So constantly evaluating, adjusting.
Evaluating, adjusting, yeah. Every week, you're looking at what's changed, what are the new risks, and how do we control them.
And then the training has to keep up with that, right?
Absolutely. You can't just assess the risks. You have to make sure everyone knows about them, knows how to deal with them.
Right. Everyone needs to be on board, not just the safety folks.
Exactly. It's about empowering everyone to be proactive about safety.
Okay, love that. And another thing I see here in the weekly section is emergency drills.
Emergency drills. Can't forget those.
Yeah, because it's one thing to have an emergency plan, written down somewhere, but it's a whole other thing to actually know what to do when the alarm goes off.
Absolutely. Regular drills, they're not just about memorizing an evacuation route. It's about building confidence. It's about minimizing panic when a real emergency happens.
So when the pressure's on, you know what to do.
Exactly. I've seen it firsthand. Teams that regularly practice their emergency procedures, they respond so much better under pressure. They're calm, they're efficient, and that can literally save lives.
Okay, so let's move on to the monthly checkup. Now things are getting serious.
Monthly check-ins, time to dig a little deeper.
This is where those comprehensive safety inspections and compliance reviews come in.
The deep dive, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds pretty intense.
Well, it has to be, right? You got to be thorough. It's not just about, looking for the obvious hazards. It's about really scrutinizing your processes, your equipment, even your documentation.
Making sure everything's up to snuff.
Up to snuff and compliant with all the regulations. Think of it like preventative maintenance. You're keeping your whole safety system running smoothly.
I like that analogy. It's preventative maintenance for safety.
That's it. Catching those little things before they turn into big problems.
And this is also where analyzing incident data comes in, right?
Absolutely. You got to look back to see forward.
Okay, explain that one.
Well, it's not just about reacting to what's already happened. It's about using those incidents, even the small ones, to figure out how to prevent them from happening again.
So using data to identify patterns, trends.
Patterns, trends, yeah. Like, let's say you notice a bunch of minor hand injuries in a certain department. That might tell you you need some extra training on how to use tools safely. Or maybe you need to redesign the workspace.
So it's about being proactive.
Proactive, always proactive.
Okay, so we've covered daily, weekly, monthly. Now we've reached the final boss,
It's a big one.
the yearly review. This feels like the big picture strategic look at the whole HSE program.
You got it. It's the time to step back and say, okay, how are we doing? Is our safety program really working? What can we do to make it even better?
So is this where we start thinking about, like, the hazards of the future?
Absolutely. The world is changing so fast, right? New technologies, new ways of working. Even the environment is changing, so you got to anticipate those future challenges.
That's what those long-term risk assessments are all about, right?
Exactly. Thinking ahead, being prepared for whatever comes next.
Because the goal is to make sure our safety program isn't just good for today, it's good for the long haul.
That's it. It's got to be sustainable.
Sustainable safety.
Sustainable safety. I like that. This checklist, it's not just a list of tasks, is it?
No, it's not.
It's a framework. It's a way of thinking. It's about building a culture of safety that's baked into everything you do.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And it's something for everyone to think about, no matter what you do, no matter where you work.
No matter what your role is.
Safety is everyone's responsibility.
Absolutely. So ask yourself, even today, what's one thing you can do to make your workplace a little bit safer? For yourself and for everyone around you.
That's a great question to leave everyone with. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.